Yeah, how was that actually? Though? It was something you mentioned that the fact that you already had all this experience as a professional comedian in a different language, coming into the English market, was that different for you? Was that different for people that, were starting here thinking, who's this guy who's already like steps, forward?
I think people on the open mic circuit maybe took me a bit more serious, but like British people tend to think a lot about themselves, so they felt like uh, that's one of the things that annoyed me is that the second I mentioned I was like a professional comedian in Romania, the 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 second thing, like the next thing, like the first thing that came to their head, oh, you must be famous in Romania, which is no, that's just a different thing. Like I wouldn't, if somebody tells me here in the UK circuit I'm a professional comedian here, I don't go, oh, you must be famous. Oh, you're not famous, then you're shit. I feel like that's what somebody that doesn't work in comedy thinks like.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the UK, people that work in comedy, that's what they assume of from people that work in comedy in other countries. They feel like no, it must be very easy to be famous somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess because they're just not aware of our scene and they see, if you're one of the few professional ones, then yeah, they're not aware of like it's actually expanding the same way as anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, they don't. It also they don't almost they don't even know that there's like there's a whole show business industry already established and like famous people and
Oh
like
yeah.
it's not like somebody starts up comedy and okay, you're on TV with us now.
No, absolutely not. I mean, yeah, that's period, especially from the '90s onwards, in all the arts in Romania, but comedy as well. It's extremely wild and just very dynamic because everybody suddenly had all this freedom and had to adapt, and suddenly you were allowed to say things you couldn't say before. It's yeah, suddenly just mushroomed out of nowhere.
I think so. I think initially like after there was a big decline in the 90s.
Hmm.
Like I think in the 80s or 70s people would go to like more shows than they would
Thanks.
in like in the late 90s. Yeah, there was like a whole show business. There was like singers and there was like all the theaters that were open, they were all constructed and opened before Ceausescu died
Yeah, the national
and then they
theaters,
went
especially.
into disrepair after Ceausescu died. So there was, I think for yeah for the show, we got like more TV stuff, but more and that really grew because we used to have like 3 hours of programming a night, sort of a day, and all of it, and like after the revolution, all of a sudden it's like 5 TV channels all looking to fill their space. But I think on live entertainment it went the other way. Everything kind of crumbled.
Yeah, that because the people that were already established tried to get into TV, but there was nobody else established to take over the live scene.
I think no, I think it was just the institutions stopped working when the whole regime change happened. All the institutions
Okay.
had to kind of stop working and had to be reborn. And like they had like a shit ton of comedy festivals before the 1990s. Like every school, every factory, every sort of town had like a comedy competition and a comedy night and a festival or something.
Yeah, they had
And
the
then all
the
yeah,
culture houses or Casa de Cultura.
Casa de Cultura, yeah. But I think I honestly feel like they even did it in like high schools and stuff. They like all the high schools kind of had like a small auditorium. I
Hmm.
know definitely there was a big comedy festival in Târgu Mureș. I think that Târgu Mureș and the Vaslui one are the ones that kind of survived the longest after uh, after the revolution came. But I think the Vaslui one still happens. I don't know
Interesting.
about the Târgu Mureș
Like
one.
I was completely not aware of that. Basically, when I came out in 2013, I was kind of, like I was not aware of a lot happening. I knew about the National Theatre, but I was like, I just want to go where the things, that I love, that I've seen, that, they're making those kind of things there. So I'm going to go to the UK. And yeah, like looking back now, I'm becoming more aware of what was happening around me. But back then, I had very minimal idea. I just saw not a lot of opportunity, basically.
Most of the stuff I know or like figured out happened after I spent like I kind of found out in those 9 years when I was a comedian in Romania. I didn't really know either beforehand. It's not. I wasn't like a. I don't think I think maybe I've seen like one theater play before that, or like two theater plays in my life before starting comedy. So yeah, I wasn't really aware either. But I
Fair.
but then finding out, yeah, definitely there was a big live scene before 1989.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
But
I
you
mean,
know, the divertis, Vacanza Mare, Vovo, you get there's a yeah, there's a Cazzavenci is doing. There's a guy Patrick Andre de Hilderim, which he does like he's doing like a series now on Cazzavenci. We're talking about how he first when the magazine first started. It's very interesting. So and it talks a lot about. Apparently, there was like another comedy troupe called Dab, but they didn't really make it on TV because they were actually a bit more against the government and shit. They were actually a bit more stingy towards
revolutionary.
the government.
Yeah.
Like anybody who did make it on TV, they they were a bit kiss assy towards the
Well,
whoever was in charge.
there was an element of censorship. You're not gonna say everything you want on RTV. Basically, that was the attitude. So
Yeah, basically, yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. And what was it like adapting in the sense of like you said, you started writing comedy in English. Did the rhythms change? Did the thinking of the mechanisms? I mean, I believe that comedy is universal, but there must be.
No, that's what I think. I think the rhythm and the mechanism are the only two things that kind of stayed the same, and like my persona a bit. But like initially, you just kind of you just talk about the elephant in the room, which is the fact that I'm Romanian. So that's and you only need 5 minutes to to get it going on the scene here. So yeah, those 5 minutes is kind of the first 5 minutes kind of wrote themselves.
Yeah.
You just talk, you do a couple of jokes about Romania, you get all the references they know about the country, and you make a bait and switch out of them, and then you move on and you try to kind of prove them. You try to kind of show that you're a person, despite not only Romanian but also like a person.
Yeah, I mean, my first 5 minutes is literally me going, I'm from Transylvania, Romania. This is what people think about Transylvania. This is what people think about Romania. It's the same place, but different perspective. Like, that's my whole 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. I really try hard not to like shit on Romania because
Yeah.
I don't think they understand it as a joke. I think the British people kind of take it too literally. And also I don't think it's fair to kind of shit on like people that aren't in the room. Like
Yeah.
if you have a target in comedy, make sure that they're in the room then
Oh,
when you
fair
when you
enough.
do the joke. I feel like it's sort of dirty if you don't
Yeah,
do that.
that's fair. Because now it's like, yeah, it's our thing. We're laughing about people that are not here. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, I ended up, because most of my exposure was to British and American comedy and American stand-up specifically. I feel like I've never actually written a stand-up set in Romanian or Hungarian yet.
Okay.
So I actually like I would have to sit down and be like, okay, how do I even approach this? I mean, it would be the same thing talking shit in a different language, but it would change the rules a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I would guess, but when you prepare for like your first show, I would say if you go to Romania and spend like 6 months on the circuit, you'd find yourself exactly where you are here. You'd find yourself being the exact same person after 6 months.
Again, I'm happy to hear that because that means I was correct. Comedy is universal. Success.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It's just like a mechanism inside our brains. I don't think every country has its own mechanism.
Yeah.
I think every country has different references and stuff, and different like culturally they're different, but yeah, mechanism is the same.